Young man in the plaid shirt, are you Mike?
Yes, I am Mike.
Have a question. You were so confident that you could take the drugs and walk away.
Yes.
And never be hooked. You would just take them for the purpose. Do you think that's because you didn't have predisposal and maybe Annie did within the brain? Or what made you be able to just say, I'm done with these, and the others could not walk away?
That's a good question. I think, like I said, I think a few times, that I do believe it's a choice. And whether Annie was predisposed to make that same choice over and over again for it to become a problem, maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But for me personally, I feel confident that I can continue to make the choice to stop whenever I want to. So.
My turn. Which, back to Mike, that's kind of the piggyback on that, because to me, that's kind of the scariest stage of addiction, the choice, like I can do these recreationally when I want or not. So I'm curious about when you're in the getting high mood, what's going through your brain? What makes you want to use? And then when you choose not to use, what's going through your brain saying, gee, I don't want to get high this time? What are you thinking?
Well, when I get high, I want to do it because it feels good and it's fun. And when I don't want to, it's just kind of one of those things. I have other interests outside of getting high, and I don't always have to get high. So I think that's the impetus to not do it. Does that answer your question?
It does answer my question, but okay. Does it kind of, are you building a tolerance? Do you find the times that you choose to have fun and get high and you're in the mood becoming more frequent?
No, I don't think so. It's just kind of whenever, you know.
But how old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay. So the operative word being yet, you know, because all drugs, whether you're genetically predisposed or not, you build a tolerance. So practice makes perfect. And so anyway, just that, I was just curious what goes through your mind, because I've heard that a lot from addicts that don't know they're addicts yet, that, you know, I'm in the mood, I'm not in the mood, I can choose when to do this, I can choose when not to do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about what recovery is from your addiction and how you achieve that.
Okay.
You want to go first?
That's fine. For myself, it took, like I said, a long time to get to the point where I could handle the withdrawal itself. For me personally, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness where and my doctor also felt it was necessary for me to remain on these drugs on a daily basis. So it was very difficult for me to beat an addiction to something that I needed to survive a daily life. If I wanted to continue working, if I wanted to continue living my life as an average individual, I needed to continue taking these drugs. So I had to get to a safety point where I wasn't going through withdrawal. And when I went through withdrawal, I was in more pain than I was already. And I'm taking pain pills, so I'm not in pain. And a lot of times I was taking so many drugs that I didn't even know if I was hurting myself. And I would do things to physically harm myself while I was high. They would require more pain medicine because now I'm further injuring myself. And it was just this vicious cycle of usage that I finally just had to stop using altogether. Be miserable, painful, sick in every way your body can be sick. And just have someone lock up my drugs and give them to me when it was time for me to have them. And then just try to fill my life with other things, other people that could help me get through the day. Because I was at a point where waking up was the worst thing that happened to me. Seeing the sun rise and saying, I didn't die in my sleep, was an everyday thing. And now, I'm not going to say I'm okay, because I still want it. I still know that I felt nothing. I didn't feel good. That's what I started to realize. I didn't feel good, but I felt nothing, and that was a lot better than feeling bad. And it's still a struggle, but I'm getting there.
And you've never tried any self-help groups?
I am not the kind of person who talks to people. For me personally, I don't believe that'll help. I have no problem sharing my story if someone thinks it'll help them. But I'm a bottler. It's just not something that really helps me. I do have a therapist, but I don't think group support is something that's functional for me personally.
Now, I did use counseling services, self-help groups. My experience wasn't as intense as hers was, but basically I was miserable. I would write notes to myself when I was really, really high and say, I don't like this person that you are. Why are you doing this? And remind myself. And I would go to these counseling services, and they would help for a little bit, but I would backslide. I would be around friends, and then I'd slip up and start taking them again, and then do something really, really stupid. Like I said, I should be dead like 6 times over. And you just get to a point where you say, sometimes you get to a point. I was lucky. I realized that this was not what I wanted for my life. I'm a college graduate. I'm educated. And it just shows you how you think a substance that small would have like no effect on you. And that's not what I wanted for my life. So I did use the counseling services and things like that, and focused on other things other than the party scene and drugs and alcohol.
I hear a whole lot about being clean or sober, but I don't hear a lot of about how you changed your life, what is different in your life, and how you came to like yourself. Did you just do that through therapy?
For me, liking myself, we're still on the road. We're still working on it. I think that's something that I'm going to have to grow into. I'm still really young. I still have a lot of things I'm not me yet, probably. I have a lot of growing to do still, and I took a lot of those years where I should have been figuring out who I was, addicted to these pills. And right now I know what's best for my body to not end my life is to not be on those drugs, and that's step 1.
And I've stopped hanging around certain people. I'll tell my story if you want to hear it. It's really hard for me to listen to Mike's story because I was him. I truly thought I was invincible. And that clearly wasn't the case. But in terms of like self-discovery and rediscovering myself, I have a lot of hatred still because I feel like I was so stupid when I could have made that choice to not take it, and I could have avoided this whole situation. But it's an ongoing process, and every day is a different day. So.
Hi, my question is for Mike. Of course.
It's all right.
I know. You keep talking about starting to use drugs and then you stop using prescription drugs. How often are you using?
How often am I using? Mm-hmm. It just depends. I mean, sometimes it's every other weekend. Sometimes it's a couple nights on a weekend. It just doesn't matter. It's when the mood strikes, when I want to, when I don't want to. I think it's just very similar to any choice of things you want to do recreationally.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You say you do it whenever. Since you're not prescribed these drugs, and how, if the mood strikes, do you come across them? Like, do you have a network of people you go to? Do you have certain friends you party with? Like, if the mood strikes on a Thursday, but your buddy's mood isn't struck on a Thursday, are your buddies addicts, so they have the mood every day? Like, how do you get what you need?
I mean, it's of course there's a network to find them. There's a network to find anything. Like, if I want a movie, I'll go to Blockbuster. Like, I don't think that's such like a peculiar thing that I know people that can get me things. Like, when you're 18 and you can't buy beer, you know who to call to get you beer. So, yes, I do have a network of people that can get me prescription drugs if I'm in the mood.
And how much are you using when you're in the mood?
How much am I using when I'm in the mood?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe a pill or two for an entire night.
What's your drug of choice?
Vicodin.
Vicodin? Okay, I would like to ask the gentleman in the green, Stephen.
Yes.
What advice do you have? I know this is kind of a argument between the two of you, it looks like, but what advice do you have for Mike? Because to me, it sounds like his use could start heading down the same direction that yours did.
Yes, and that's exactly what I would tell him. I would say, Mike, I'll talk to you.
All right.
Man, you're scaring me. You've been my friend. We've been friends for I don't know how long, and you know what's happened to me. You've seen it. You have that Superman complex, man. You're not Superman. And one of these days, it's going to happen. You're going to fall, whether or not you feel that you are in complete control. It's the worst feeling in the world once you lose that. I care about you, man, but the thing is, you're not going to change unless you want to change. There's nothing I can do to say that'll change that in your mind. So all I offer you my friendship. You know, if you ever need anything from me, talk to me. I'm there for you. And use my life as an example. But man, you are just about there. Do you think what are you thinking?
I'm nothing. I mean, I respect your opinion, and I respect the fact that you can still be friends with me even if my choices are choices that you don't make or no longer make. And I can respect your choices to not use prescription drugs as well. But I do choose to use that, and I appreciate your continued friendship.
So in essence,
That's all you can ask.
that's all.
Well, I see there's a line of people behind me, so I will go ahead and let them ask.
I actually have a question for Abby. You said that someone close to you had overdosed, and that's kind of why you don't take any prescription drugs. But what's the peer pressure been like? Have you had a lot of offers to take prescription drugs, or?
Yeah, I've had some offers at like different parties I've been to. People have been like, "Hey, do you want some of these?" But I just I don't have any interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be healthy and have fun, like get high on life. You know, why can't we just have fun like that? But yeah, I've had some offers, but I just say no.
And you've never experienced any point in your life where you've been really close to taking it or anything like that?
No, not at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Samantha, I want to talk about your pill parties because as a parent, I can imagine my daughter going out to parties. I'm just curious, how often are pills at the parties that you go to, and what percentage are taking the pills? And especially, what do you do when people start taking pills and you're at the party?
I think pills at parties, especially in early college or even high school, it's, there at these parties there's typically alcohol, and I would say like the pills are as frequent as marijuana at these parties. It's like kind of a substance that people use, like if they want to mix it with alcohol. It's just one of those things. I think it seems a lot less scary to some people. Like if they're like embarrassed, they don't know how to smoke or something, they can just pop a pill because pills are, naturally supposed to help you. So they're like, oh, how can this harm me? And they're easily accessible. Like say your mom had a surgery and there's Vicodin in the cupboard. So they bring that because, I don't know, you ran out of beer and then people want to still get high or feel altered in some way. I would say, though, with pills, like with any type of drug, unless you're with like a really hardcore group, like a lot of my friends, it's very social. I don't partake, but I've seen people do it. I'm like, oh, that's not that big of a deal because those are painkillers. It's not that big of a deal. And I didn't realize, obviously. But I don't think that there's a ton of pressure to do it, but also at the same time, if you are like, you've been drinking and you want to feel cool and everyone's doing it, you're like, oh yeah, I'll do that, no big deal. So there is a little bit of pressure, but a lot of it kind of comes within to feel cool. I don't think people are going to like force them down your throat or anything.
I'll also say that, in regards to like marijuana, like that's the act of smoking takes practice. And no one needs a whole lot of practice to just pop pills. So it's
you've been doing it since you were a little kid.
Right. So it's just way easier. You don't have to learn anything new. You just swallow it and it's gone.
And who's afraid of a pill? Pills cure everything. I have a pill for the pills that I'm taking because my pills have side effects, so I have pills for the side effects. Pills, we're one of the only nations that advertises pharmaceuticals on television. Like, I see people walking through a field and smiling, and now they don't have herpes. Like,
right.
That's what television is telling me.
Right.
So why am I afraid to swallow a little white pill? I'm not.
Right.
They look like candy, honestly.
Yes.
They're supposed to help, and a lot of like Vicodin or stuff, you get it for a surgery. So you're like, I have this, I know what it's going to do to me. I think it's the problem when you start mixing or it's becoming too much, or the overdosing is the huge problem.
The
Yeah.
prescription, I'm sorry, you were talking.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm just curious with Samantha. Keeps saying it's no big deal. So why haven't you tried it yet?
I've had no interest in it. I mean, I don't think it's no big deal, but I think that people treat it like it's no big deal. Like, I don't think that, there's no side effects, nothing, but I think that's the perception of it out there. And also because it's not, I mean, it's illegal to take someone else's, but it's not like marijuana or cocaine where it is illegal. You can't ever have that on you. You're going to go straight to jail if that's in your car. You know, if you have a couple pills on you, you'd be like, oh, these are my mom's, and I was taking them to her or something. You know, so I think it's easier, it's less risky. But I think it is a big deal. But I think the perception is that it's not a big deal.
Okay, thank you.
My question's for Mike. You are obviously a prideful person and a little cocky. So I'm just curious to, hypothetically, because obviously it's never going to happen to you, but let's just say that you do get addicted and you do fall down that road and you can't get up. Are you going to be able to say, you know, I need help with your personality? Are you going to be able to go and actually change the fact that you went down that road? Are you going to be able to get out with how you are?
It's an interesting question, and hypothetically, I would say yes, because even though I may be arrogant and cocky and prideful, I'm also one who's not afraid to ask assistance from someone. So, but because I don't believe this is a problem for me, I don't ask assistance from anyone. But that's not to say I don't have other problems in other areas of my life where I ask for help.
Do you feel like that's kind of a contradiction to be, you know, I'm so great that addiction can't pull me down, but I can ask for help?
No, because I don't think I have a problem. I don't think I'm addicted. But as I said, I have other problems in my life where I do need help. So I think it's more a matter of perception than contradiction.
And I have a question for the recovered. Do you think there's going to be tension within your friendship? I mean, is it going to be hard to watch him do that? And are you going to get angry and feel like, not like angry, but like aggravated that you can't get him out of that?
For me personally, no, because you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. I don't want to say I'm going to keep an eye on him. I don't want to say anything like that. But we're there. Thank God we've been there and we know what to do. And hopefully, if it gets to that, which for Mike's sake, we'll say it probably won't. But if it doesn't, he knows where we are.
For me, it was more of I'm just frustrated. I'm really, really frustrated because it's really hard looking at yourself and someone and having them make their own choices regardless of what you tell them. Because, I mean, I remember when I was in that stage, you couldn't tell me anything. I was just this cocky, prideful, arrogant. Was that the other one?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Arrogant. And you really couldn't tell me anything. Again, I had to make sure that I was ready to stop and start over. So it's more so frustrating, if anything, and it's more of a slap in my face that he's not taking my experience as a learning tool or what have you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my question is for Annie or anyone else who wants to answer it. But first I want to say that recently my son had his wisdom teeth pulled, 2 of them. He was prescribed 20 Vicodin with 3 refills, so that's 80 Vicodin, which I thought was crazy. I only had them fill 10. So my question, maybe particularly to you, Annie, is do you feel that the doctors are somewhat responsible to your addiction, and what do we need to be telling these doctors to not be prescribing these kind of medications?
I think it depends on where you are. There are always a way to get the drugs from a doctor. There are certain doctors that's all they do. I'm a pain management doctor. All I do is prescribe pills. I had urine tests every month when I went to the doctor for my refills. And in those drug screens, they would make sure that I had the pills in my system. So when I was trying to get stronger medications because my 500 milligram Vicodins weren't cutting it, and I wanted some Oxycontin or some Percocet or something else, I would sell my pills on the street and then use that money to buy a few of the stronger pills, but keep a couple back so that I could take them before my doctor's appointment so it would be in my urine. What I find wrong with that is they're not worried about whether or not they want to know if I'm dealing. They don't care how much I'm taking. They want to know if I'm selling my pills, not if I have them in my body, if I'm getting better. And that system to me seems a little flawed, a little confused. So I'd say that's a big problem. And also, who do you trust? Who can't you trust? I think that this is one of the drug problems that's definitely a white middle class problem too, like a big one, prescription medication. And the stereotypes that we see in the media and culturally of who's trying to get drugs and who is a drug addict aren't soccer moms. They're not soccer moms that doctors have to think twice about giving drugs to because they have bad knee problems because they've been gardening all day. You know, that's not the people they're worried about. So yes, the doctors have a lot to do with what's going on.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I would suggest that probably a lot of the over-prescribing by doctors was a direct response to social pressures from patients saying, this isn't working, do something different. So now, over a period of time, we've come to the point where the doctors, the par for the course is to overprescribe. So I think that the doctor's response is that their response is not to be as blamed as actual societal fault, because they're not going to overprescribe if there's not some sort of demand there.
And I also think like huge pharmaceutical companies, you know, these multi-billion-dollar companies, they need to sell these drugs to make money. I mean, like Annie said, every other commercial is like running in a field and you're going to feel great if you take these, not necessarily Vicodin, but any prescription drug. So the perception is they're here to help you, and they spend millions and billions of dollars advertising these things, and it's hard to kind of filter that. So maybe it's the doctors, the pharmaceutical companies, and then definitely the individual.
Okay, Mike, you say you're your own individual, but
Yes.
do you know that it's going to affect not only you, but all these other people around you? Like last year, I lost a friend sober in a car crash. What if you're in a car and you're high and something happens? What are you going to think? Like, all these people are going to feel something, not just you. Are you really not going to let it stop you? Like, are you really going to put other people through that?
I appreciate your position a lot, because I've lost friends in car accidents as well. And I'm not naive enough to think that my existence and my choices don't affect anyone else. But these decisions I'm making are primarily going to affect me. And I think with most decisions, the first person that you kind of think about when you make the decision is yourself. So I don't know if that answered your question or if that just didn't make any sense at all.
No. And another question, do you progress in drugs? Like, do you go from one drug up?
No, I tend to just stay with the Vicodin.
Okay.
Can I just add on to that 1 second? Thank you for sharing about your friend last year. And yes, you're going to affect other people, and I'll prove it to you. My brother, John, his friend Billy, in a car with a buddy. Billy is in the passenger seat. We got Josh, I think it was Josh, driving. Billy's in the passenger seat. Josh is taking some prescription pills. I don't know what he was taking. I'm just getting into learning all this stuff. He's driving the car, realizes he's too out of it, right? And that would be a good decision to stop driving, am I right? Yeah? If you're feeling, I'm feeling a little loopy, I'm going to stop. Pulls over, lets Billy get in the driver's seat, drive him. Billy crashes the car because he's also on prescription drugs. On a rating of 1 to 10, he was probably at a 9. Kills Josh. Billy's in jail, man. You want to do that? You want to go to jail? Then you're going to mess with everyone who really cares about you?
No, I don't want to go to jail, but
Well, if you...
I would rather me not go to jail than you guys be upset that I'm in jail.
But what if you kill somebody?
Huh?
What if you kill somebody? You pop in a pill, it's no big deal. Well, I'm taking some Vicodin. And then you kill somebody.
I could kill somebody driving a car right after this.
You could, but your chances of taking Vicodin and driving a car would make your chances of killing someone that much higher.
Who said I'm drugging and driving?
Well, you got to drive after you take a pill, period.
Huh?
You see why this is so frustrating?
Let's move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my question's for Annie. I was wanting to know, do you think anybody could ever pressure you into taking, like, abusing prescription drugs?
100%.
Okay, do you think that it could ever get bad enough to where you actually have to open yourself and not be bottled up anymore, to open yourself up to other people besides just a therapist?
Probably, but I just think that's one of those things personally. There's lots of avenues for help. There's lots of ways to get help. I'm just not the type of person who is going to benefit a lot from other people. I'm not opposed to sitting in a group and talking about it. I mean, when you are in rehab and when you get in trouble for alcohol or drugs, you have to do those types of things, and I've done them. They just don't personally benefit me, but I'm not opposed to them, no.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, I just have a couple questions for Terrence. I'm interested in your story because you seem to be the only person up here who just took the drug one time, abused it, and then just went cold turkey and quit.
Well, I mean, I took it more than once. I've taken it several weekends and at parties.
Okay.
But
what made you different, though? What made you different when these other guys just abused, but you seemed to just stop, and it wasn't really a big deal for you?
Well, I don't think that there is a huge difference between us. I think that right now, me and Mike are about the same crossroads, and there's two different paths that we can take. I choose, and I'm choosing now to be affected by their stories and to quit taking them. If I am more addicted than I thought I was, and I end up going through withdrawal, I'll probably go to them for help. I'll probably seek additional help, but I don't want to take them anymore, and I don't want to risk that. But Mike is apparently choosing this other road. It's worth it for me. It's worth it to keep getting high and to use these at parties. So I think that's the main difference.
That's what was also interesting to me. It seems like support from your friends is really important to you guys, and being a close friend of Mike's and abusing the same drug, Vicodin, why aren't you more involved in his life and trying to get him to stop more? It seems like these guys are really frustrated with Mike, but I haven't really heard you being really angry with Mike. I bet you guys are about the same.
Well, I think that part of it is they've been through a lot more than I have with these drugs, so they're probably seeing a lot of themselves, and I'm seeing us at the same place. I'm seeing us, we've come through the same thing, but I haven't been where they've been, so I don't know that on the same level. So I think that might be why I'm just not having the same just gut reaction of, oh no, he's going, because I don't know.